Ciao, Ayu, come stai? Tonight I am making chicken Parmigiana and Scarol fasule. Fasule being the Neapolitan word for bean, and fagioli being the Italian word, or standard Italian word for beans. Anyway, I'm using ciccia beans, which are chickpeas in English. Now, chicken Parmigiana isn't an Italian meal in Italy. What modern-day Italians in Italy fail to realize or recognize is that when their extremely poor and downtrodden southern Italian compatriots came to America, they were overwhelmed with the abundance of meats and their cheap prices. So is it an Italian food? No, not really. But it is an Italian-American food that was created by immigrants. It is the amalgamation of a dish called melanzana alla parmigiana and the cotoletta. They would bread and fry eggplant and eat it the same way. Once again, because the meat markets here were just much cheaper. First-generation Italians began to incorporate foods that Italians in Italy still don't do to this day. Let's start with chicken cutlets. Not boneless chicken breasts, but very thin cutlets. Again, you get these from the butcher shop. Next, we'll dip them into the egg and coat them with breadcrumbs. We want the whole cutlet coated. You don't want to leave any bald spots, you know what I mean? And do as many as you can because you're going to want to be ready for what we do next. And as I just said, it's so much better just to have them already done, already coated, because the next part is quick, very fast. We're going to take them and we're going to toss them into a frying pan. So we're going to either use vegetable or olive oil, so it doesn't really matter. You'll see them sizzling. And we're not cooking them all the way through. We're not cooking them all the way through because they're going to continue to cook later on. Remember that. Don't cook them all the way through. And then lastly, we have egg and breadcrumbs left. Are we going to throw those out? Absolutely not. Mix them together, make a patty, because we're going to do something with that patty. You know, we don't want to toss anything out. There are people starving all over the world. Why throw out food? Even if it's just a simple ingredient like this. So we'll make a patty, and once we're done, we're going to fry that sucker up into the last of our oil. Next, remember yesterday we made our ragu, our pork ragu. Well, guess what? We're going to use that leftover to cover our chicken cutlets. And then we'll toss in some fresh mozzarella and we'll shred some Parmigiana Reggiana onto the chicken. Get it? Look at that. Very beautiful, very nice. But we're not ready. Now that the chicken is prepped, we're going to go to washing the scarol, or escarole, as it's called. Make sure you wash it thoroughly with cold water, rip it apart, tossing out the heart. We're going to use some olive oil. You see I got some chili peppers in there. And what we'll do is we'll heat it up, get it nice and hot, and we'll toss in some large pieces of garlic. We don't want them small. We'll probably not eat them, you know, just to get the flavor. So we're going to let that simmer for a bit. Then we'll toss in, we'll let it simmer, and then we're going to toss in our scarol. Now be very, very careful. Go easy. Don't get burned by the oil. You know, water and oil do not mix. Just be careful. So once we get that all done, we get that all in there, we're just gonna mix it around with the oil. You know, get the oil on those leaves. And once we get the oil on those leaves, we're ready for our next step. Now we're adding the ciccia beans. Once we add the ciccia beans, we're gonna mix it all around, get it all nice and mixed up, which is very important. Our oven is preheated to 375. We're gonna toss the chicken in and set it for 25 minutes. And once we're done with that, we'll toss in our leftover sauce or gravy. We're gonna also toss in our prosciutto. We'll rip that apart, throw that right into that pot. Look at that, beautiful. Now we'll take half a cup of dry red wine and we are gonna fill that in. We're just gonna put that into the pot and we're gonna cook that on low, set the top on just nice and low and let it cook. Looks like our chicken is done. Look at it sizzling, just look at it sizzling. And the cheese is all melty. It smells so good. Looks good. What do we have here? It looks like our soup is done too. Wow. Let the steam out. Let it cool down a bit. We're going to put some grated cheese in our soup. Look at the pretty colors. Look at that. Looks amazing. I bet it's going to taste even better. And, oh, just look at the steam rising. Last but not least, let's have our main course. We're gonna cut up that chicken. You know, it's a little difficult, you know, especially when you're using cheese. It likes to stick together, so you don't want to rip the cheese off from the other pieces of chicken. So you gotta be careful, and you don't want it. Like I said, you don't want to rip it off. As you can see here, it actually stretches a little bit, but that's nice. You know, you'll have nice hot cheese, nice melted cheese, all stretchy. We're gonna toss that on a plate of fusilli, and we're gonna mangia. Buon appetito, Wayu. Cindan.